Hey, what's up? Welcome back to this episode of Queen of the Court. I'm Kira.
And I'm Tia.
And today we're going to be talking about NCAA rankings, WNBA free agency, and WNBA early season predictions. Plus, we're going to be talking about Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball. And then, of course, at the end of the show, announce our Queen of the Court.
So let's jump right into what we've got, starting off with the rankings and how they've changed up a little bit and talking about some of the upsets that happened last week as well. So first off, we have Arizona, who is now at number 8. They were number 6 last week, but they went down in the rankings after losing to yours truly, Arizona State.
Woo.
They split the series. They played back-to-back games, one in Tempe, then headed to Tucson to play that second one. And then ASU grabbed the first one. I mean, Shayna Pellington, she had 30 points, but it was just not enough as Jade LaVille had 27 of her own. Mile Giles put up the double-double. I mean, what do you think? ASU's really starting to pull through at the ends here.
They've been playing pretty well. I think we were kind of talking bad about them, but they're kind of proving us wrong. They're really pulling through right now.
Yeah, I mean, checking out Charlie Cream's ESPN bracketology today, they bumped ASU. ASU's been moving up in each one. They were first 4 out, then they bumped them up to the last team of the last 4 in. Now they're sitting somewhere in the last 4 buys. So, I mean, if ASU continues to get these types of wins, like, we might be seeing them in a pretty good spot come tournament time in March. How fun would that be as students?
Yeah, that'd be so exciting. We'd be getting hype. Next up, we have number 4 Michigan. They were number 4. Now they're number 9. They lost to MSU 57-63 on Thursday. There was 0 points from their bench players from the UN bench, and they also lost to Northwestern 69-71.
I mean, tough break for Michigan. They're doing pretty well. And then just take 2 tough losses right there. It's not much you can really do about it. I mean, MSU, that's a tough rivalry. It's always going to be a hard-fought game. And Northwestern, they've got some pretty talented players up at Northwestern. Veronica Burton, who's on all the lists for a bunch of different awards, kind of an underdog around there. And, a few other talented pieces. So Michigan will have to fight, try to come back from what they did.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're just in a little rough moment right now.
Everyone has them, so.
Yeah. Next up, we got our favorite UConn. They were number 8. Now they're number 10. They lost to Villanova 69-72 on Wednesday. Ozzie Fuds, it's her second start of the season. She scores 29 points. UConn breaks their 145 conference game win streak.
Can we just clap it up for UConn losing? Woo! Love that so much. No, but seriously though, I mean, 145 games that they won within their conference. That's super impressive.
Oh, for sure. And
Villanova is not the team I would have picked to do it.
Yeah.
I would have thought that it would have been DePaul, and they played DePaul the second time already, and they crushed DePaul the second time after beating them by 1 the first time. So very surprised it was Villanova that got it done. But I think it's going to help with reflecting accurate rankings, accurate placings in the tournament. So excited to see how that kind of shapes up. And for our next one, we've got a team that's new to the rankings this week, Virginia Tech. They had a pretty good week. They took down 2 teams that were in the top 25 last week. Took down Georgia Tech, who was number 11, dropped them all the way down to 16. And then they also upset North Carolina, who was 23, and then they only dropped 1 spot. But Virginia Tech jumps into the rankings, jumps in at 23, so not quite, the jump like we saw last week from Florida, and who had jumped all the way into 19, but still a pretty good jump in there for Virginia Tech, and it's always good to peak around this time.
Oh, for sure. She did talk a little bit about how UNC did go down 1 just because of the upset, but next up we got Oregon dropping out of the top 25 because they lost to Oregon State 68-62 on Sunday. They just keep losing.
I mean, I said it. I thought Oregon was underranked to begin with because of some of the injuries that they had, and they had players that were missing that are really integral parts of their team. But then they just kept losing a couple of games, lost to ASU, lost to Oregon State, their in-state rivals, and so now they've dropped out of the top 25 entirely. I still think Oregon has a lot to offer, and I think they're an interesting team.
Yeah.
Obviously, just sitting outside the top 25, so still in a good position for the tournament. Could probably squeeze in somewhere in like a 6 or 7 seed, I'd imagine. So I think Oregon State will be okay, or Oregon will be okay, but definitely odd to see them not in the top 25.
Yeah, I agree.
And then just yesterday, Indiana was upset by Nebraska, 55-72. That's a big differential.
Oh, for sure.
Indiana, number 5 team. I mean, we saw them in the tournament last year. They went pretty far, and I mean, they've been pretty quiet this year. Just kind of
just been doing their thing. You
know? just kind of chugging along, chilling at number 5 for most of the season. So they're gonna drop next week when the rankings come out.
Yep. Next up, we got WNBA free agency. There hasn't been too much going on in this past week, but Courtney Vandersloot did sign a 1-year contract to stay with the Chicago Sky.
Kira wins, and the Chicago Sky keep Courtney Vandersloot.
Yep.
Feeling pretty happy about that one.
Yes.
Yet to see what they do with Allie Quigley, though, who still remains a free agent. So it'll be interesting to see if they decide to bring her back as well. It would be very odd to see Quigley and Vandersloot split up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they haven't signed her yet, so we'll have to wait and see. And speaking of the WNBA, you know, since it was a pretty quiet week, I think a lot of teams are really starting to settle in with the trades and the signings that they've made this past month or so. So we're going to take a quick second just to kind of evaluate some of the teams and what we think. So we are picking who we think will be competing for the championship. So our top 2 teams that'll be in the finals, maybe not necessarily regular season top 2, but who we think can go all the way, and our team that we think is going to be at the bottom. So, Kira, let's start off with your bottom team.
My bottom team is going to be Indiana Fever. They're kind of a team that I never see too much out of them. I think last season they had barely any wins. I hate to say it, but yeah, they're going to be my bottom team.
I'm going to agree with you. I think the Indiana Fever will probably be the bottom team in the league. They're Tamika Catchings, former Fever star, won a championship with the Fever. I actually met her. That was pretty cool. But she stepping down as the VP and GM of the Fever, so they will have to find an interim for those positions. And quite honestly, didn't make very many moves that really ended up kind of helping move them around. So I think that they don't have very many roster pieces. They're just missing a lot. Definitely a rebuild that's taking some time. Not even sure if it's a rebuild or just build in general. But they definitely have some things that they need to work on. And so now give us your first pick for the finals.
My first team I would like in the finals is the Seattle Storm. Not being biased, I just think...
Totally not being biased.
I just think the Seattle Storm has a great roster. I mean, you got Sue Bird in her final year, Brianna Stewart, Lauren Jackson, Jewel Lloyd. I can keep going. You got Mercedes Russell. You know, everybody's pretty good on that Storm. I don't know. I'd love to see them in the finals, and I think they can make it this year.
I am also going to agree with that pick. Great minds think alike, I guess.
Yeah.
For many of the same reasons. Like you said, bringing back Sue Bird for her final year, bringing back Brianna Stewart for one more year, probably. Stewie's probably out after this, but
yeah.
Getting Jewel Lloyd back, getting Mercedes Russell, who's been killing it in Athletes Unlimited. You signed Brand January from Connecticut. You get Gabby Williams from LA. Like, this is a pretty good roster, and this is a team who they were the 4 seed in the playoffs last year, lost to Phoenix in a hard fought, like they went at it. So I mean, I think if Seattle really puts their minds to it, they definitely have the potential to make it to the finals, and I think there's going to be a little bit of extra push from them, especially since it's Sue Bird's last year. They're going to want to do it for Sue Bird.
Yeah. My next team that I would like to see in the finals is going to be Chicago Sky. Again, no bias. I'd like to see him pull through. You got great players like Allie Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, Candace Parker, Lexi Brown. I think they could really bring it to the table. Hopefully, Allie Quigley is still there, but yeah, I just think it's a great team.
Yeah, I mean, all right, Chicago's okay, sure. You know, I think Chicago, they've got a few things going on. You know, Candace Parker is one of the greatest. Like you said, Quigley, Vandersloot. They lost a few things though.
Oh, for sure.
I'm going with the 2021 regular season champions. Had by far the best record in the regular season. Got shocked by the Chicago Sky in the playoffs. But I'm going with the Connecticut Sun. I mean, not much about their roster has changed. Really, they bring back Jonquel Jones, which is huge, league MVP. They still have DeWanna Bonner. They lost Brianna January, but, I mean, they pick up Courtney Williams, who she was in Atlanta for a couple of years, had some issues down there. She returns back to Connecticut, where she played for a few years before her time in Atlanta. And I think they're one of the most stable teams that we've seen here. And I think, you know, you could go with a team like the Mercury, right? But I honestly think too many big personalities, too many big players could cause some dysfunction, and I think the Mercury will be there, but I don't know how I really see the Mercury really getting it done and making it all the way. I definitely see them running into some issues. LA, they picked up a few really good pieces, but LA, they kind of got the same thing going on. They kind of got a few things to put together. I mean, Vegas, they kept a lot of their core, which is good for them, but I don't think they have enough to really get it done. I think Connecticut, they are really in a good position. And so between your two picks, you have Seattle and Chicago. I have Seattle and Connecticut. Who do you think's winning it all?
For me, I'm going to go with Seattle. I think they have some big names, but I think they work very well together.
I would love to see Seattle win one more for Sue Bird, but I'm going with Connecticut. So those are our picks for right now. It's obviously way too early. The teams aren't finalized. We still haven't even had the WNBA draft, which is coming later in April. So I'm sure we'll get a chance to reevaluate some of our choices here. And man, by the time we have to come back to check in, it'll be sophomore year. How fun! And I mean, moving on to something that we haven't talked as much about throughout the course of these past couple of episodes, but something we think deserves a highlight. The Athletes Unlimited Pro Basketball. It's currently week 4. They kick off their week 4 tomorrow. It's a 5-week schedule, so second to last week. But last week, Izzy Harrison, who's been a captain for, I think, almost every week, her team was stacked.
Yes.
Like, insane.
Yes.
Aside from just going 3-0 for the week, they had the 2 through 5 spots on the leaderboard, Team Harrison. Spots 7 and 9, Team Harrison. That's a bunch of plugs and holes to have in there from the top 10. So, I mean, they kind of got split up, though, this week.
Yeah, you got Harrison, redrafted Young, and Bergholder, but the rest have been split up, which could cause some issues for her, but we'll see. I mean, they were a team that really carried and had way more points compared to the other teams, so we'll see if the matchups will be more exciting.
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like the way this is set up, it's so fun because you see people go from being, like, teammates 1 second to all of a sudden they're, like, not enemies, but they're, like, competing against each other.
Yeah, they want to get the most points.
It's so interesting, especially when you know how basketball works. You have, like, petty little, like, things that happen on the court, and I think it's so interesting because it's, like, these players are going from being, like, teammates working together on the same side, and then the next week, you know, a ref calls a weak foul, and now they're getting mad at each other and little poking or pushing little buttons. I think it's so funny how all of those dynamics work.
Yeah.
But that's our quick little rundown on the Athletes Unlimited. They're starting off tomorrow. It's week 4, like I said. Captains this week: Tiana Hawkins, Izzy Harrison, Natasha Cloud, and Odyssey Sims, because Lexi Brown is number 4 on the leaderboard, but she will miss a game. So, I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of top 10 people at the top of the leaderboard, but 2 weeks left to see who it will be. as they finish up that season.
Yes. Now, what our show is named after, we are going to announce our Queen of the Courts. Tia, who is our Queen of the Court this week?
Our Queen of the Court for this week is none other than Aaliyah Boston from South Carolina. Aaliyah Boston's been getting it done all season long. Let's be honest. She's been doing a great job this season, but specifically just this last week, got 2 wins for her team. It's always a good thing you want to do. And they were over pretty good teams. Kentucky, who's got Ryan Howard, who may be the number 1 pick in the WNBA draft. Somewhere in the top 3 is where she's slated to go, potentially even number 1. So, it's a pretty big deal getting the win over them. Georgia, who is ranked in the top 25. That's another SEC opponent, along with Kentucky, in those 2 important conference wins as they start to round down the rest of the season, getting those 2 crucial wins for this season, keeping them rolling. And
she records her 17th straight double-double this week.
So she's I think, the second longest active streak for double-doubles. Number 1 is actually Anissa Morrow from DePaul, the freshman, which is impressive. But
yes.
Aaliyah Boston, she's got 17 in a row with points and rebounds. And so, having
crazy.
that type of impact on a game is absolutely wild. So, that's pretty much it. You got anything else you wanna mention?
I know we made Aaliyah Boston Queen of the Court, but just shout out Caitlin Clark again, 2nd week in a row. She's been killing it. But yeah, Aaliyah Boston's an amazing player overall. To hold 2nd in 17th straight double-doubles, that's insane. I could never. And
she gets it done, getting it done on a team like South Carolina that has so many pieces, so many of these players were in the top whatever, at the top of their recruiting classes. And there is a bunch of great players, to get it done on that type of team. And literally Dawn Staley has been on Twitter all week, just shouting out Aaliyah Boston, trying to give her credits because, Aaliyah Boston, for being arguably the best player in women's college basketball, is so underrated. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
It's just she's not really talked about in the media because it's almost like her performances are expected.
Yeah.
This is baseline for Aaliyah Boston. Yeah. And so it's when she does it, it's oh, it doesn't seem that great. Well, yeah, because it's Aaliyah Boston. Yeah. Obviously, she's going to do that.
But I'm glad she's getting what she deserves.
Certainly getting her recognition here.
Yeah.
On Queen of the Court. So we'll give her the recognition and the props any day. So that's all I've got.
That is also
That's all you got. This week in women's basketball, there's sure to be some interesting matchups that we are super excited that we'll get to chance to talk about. Iowa State and Texas will match up on Wednesday. ACC top 25 matchup with Louisville and North Carolina. Lots of conference matchups going on. Ohio State, Maryland, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. Let's see who else is playing. There's a bunch of good games left to go. So there's certainly to be a lot of action. Certainly to be a lot of upsets.
Yes, lots more to talk about next episode.
Giving us plenty of content. So we will return in a week. Thanks so much for tuning in, and make sure to stay tuned to see all that we talk about on the next episode.